Good morning, everyone. So I'll talk about this particular presentation. So it's part of the digital lecture series on the 261 series or 226 series. So for today, we'll talk about making the right decisions, alternative solutions. So since we started, I've been sharing with you several tools. Now, if you will be able to use all of these tools, you're actually good at. You can actually run QA workshops already. So you talk about problem analysis tools. What do you remember? Fishbone, right? Fishbone analysis. You talk about cause effect analysis, right? And analysis, or so many other tools. Today we'll continue learning some of the tools. Hopefully we'll be able to learn more than 10 or 15 tools in this particular series of the whole course that you can use as a, what do you call it, programs that I will require some of you, I will require all of you to more or less use these tools in your report. I want to see how tools are used in your report. So today we'll talk about deciding on alternative solutions, using different tools on deciding the best alternative solutions. Halimbawa, nagmi-meeting kayo bilang isang department, isang unit, paano tayo magdidesisyon sa ating field trip? Simple, no? Field trip. Madaming. Paano tayo magdidesisyon tungkol sa Christmas party? Ang ganun maliliit na bagay. No? Palagi na lang, tayo, hand raising or something like that. So we can utilize more scientific tools, and here we'll try to look at the more or less three or four tools that you will be able to use. Okay, so let's start with the decision-making matrix tool that we discussed last week. We just go back to it very quickly. So just the description, it's an evaluation tool that helps you to compare and choose among alternatives, right? So you will say, how many alternatives do we have? Or let's say, let's go team building. How many alternatives do we have? Do we go to Tagaytay? Do we go to Hong Kong? To Singapore? Alam mo ngayon, mga team building ngayon, hindi na mga Tagaytay lang, di ba? Do we go to Batanes? And people will say, no, it's cheaper to go to Singapore to go to Batanes. Might as well go to, one time I traveled to Kuala Lumpur. I used a regular Malaysian Air with dinner and sort of thing. The round trip ticket, I came back the next day for that. Then I went straight to Cebu. My one trip to Cebu is more expensive. One-way ticket to Cebu is more expensive than my round trip ticket from Malaysia, from Kuala Lumpur. My ticket round trip to Malaysia was only 7,500 pesos. My trip ticket to Cebu is 10,000 one way. And of course, it was bought a few days before the trip. But the thing is, we have to make decisions. So, to make decisions, we have to be more objective. Actually, yung mga tools natin, para sana maiwasan yung away, no? Maiwasan yung away. Sige, ikaw na lang, malakas ang boses mo eh. Sa'yo na lang tayo pupunta sa sinabi mo. Kasi palakasan na lang ng boses to eh. So what we try to do is to make sure that you be able to make decisions basically according to objective parameters, right? Like in OSCE, you use objective parameters. Why do we want OSCE, for example, objective structured clinical exam? Because we don't want you to grade just because of your feelings or just because of your relationship to the person you're testing. Kagalit mo siya when he was staging, so we want to have more objective tools. Decision matrix is one. So how do you construct it? We just review what happened last time. First, you select criteria for evaluating your alternatives. You know what? You have to spend a lot of time really deciding on the criteria. Anong criteria? Cost, for example. Distance, right? Safety. For example, if you're deploying doctors to the communities, if you're a medical school and you're deploying your St. Luke's and you're deploying the students to community work, probably you will talk about safety, right? You'll talk about distance. Lalo ngayon, maraming nasasagasaan sa mga... I was in FEU last week for that weekend for the students. Talk about why and where to go for after graduation. So talk about inspiring them to go to community work. Sabi ko, itong FEU, you just go there in Holy Spirit and you're still taking the bus, di ba? Napaka-safe yung FEU, community rotation. Every day, parang school boys, school girls, naka-school bus, and only 2 kilometers away from the campus. But some UP, for example, will go to Amiga, right? Amiga, it's more risk-taking. What happened in St. Luke's, of course, affected their own, as we discussed before, community program when something happened to their interns in an accident in Nueva Ecija. But there are criteria. You have to make sure that you do that. Let's say, some people will say, so you're planning to build a house. Sabi ko, prepare yung bahay. Sabi ng architect, it's more expensive to repair the house because you have to break it down and then build again, right? It's better to build a new house. But there's already a house there. That's more expensive because I have to buy another lot to start from the ground. The thing is, there are more alternatives. Write the criteria in terms of impact, for example, cost of unmet expectation, cost of implementation, wear and tear, and so forth. And then decide on the relative weight of its criteria. So you don't just say equal. There might be bigger one. No? Let's say for med school now, UP Medicine changed its requirement for admission. I think they have become more biased towards graduate of science courses, right? And the humanities courses have a lesser value in terms of conversion. Sabi ko nga, nagjo-joke nga ako, it's easier to develop the science. It's more difficult to develop the humanity. So you either admit them with a good humanity already, than rather have a good science. But that's my joke. Because my daughter is humanities. That's my own bad. Dadating na pala. Kalimutan natin eh. Medyo na ba kayo? Yeah, sige. Kasi kompleto na. Let's just continue. So step 1, let's talk at this. So list criteria for evaluating alternatives. Let's say, for example, you write a table here, right? You write a table or you prepare a table. So what you try to do is put on the first column you will write your alternatives, right? But by the way, don't start writing your alternatives, huh? Start writing the criteria. Because if the alternative will be the first, then you might be preparing a criteria that would be biased towards an alternative. Parang kowa yan eh. Gusto mong mapili yung pinopropose mo, unahin mo yung napipili mo. Para yung criteria mo, tatama dun sa pinili mo. Helicopter ba? O sige, 3 propeller. Di ba yan ang mga issue last time about all the military and police purchase? Bakit pinili, parang, what was the accusation for CJ, Chief Justice Sereno? That the criteria used was to make sure that the preferred car of Land Cruiser will be selected. Di ba ganun yung noon? Parang binasa mo muna yung specification ng Land Cruiser. Nang sasabihin mo, ito ang hinihanap natin, ha? Ganito. So nauna yung alternative, so strategy. Kaya ang natin dito, as much as possible, don't start with an alternative. Start with the criteria. Otherwise, you will have bias, no? So talk about, like say, impact on customer satisfaction, employee impact, need for improvement. Talk about impact on your students or parents, impact on your graduates, whatever. Need for improvement. Nauna, you start first with the criteria. Then after that, you select the strategies. Again, don't start with strategy. Kasi nangyayari yun, you will make it your selection criteria may be very biased towards. Parang drug company rin yan. Anong hinahanap mong gamot? Ito, para sa gamot na ganito kaya hanapin mo ganito. Kaya minsan yung ibang doktor naunang anong sinabi ng drug company profile para yung kanyang i-explain, papasa yung gamot ng sponsor niya. And that's basically difficult. So, you can then add the scale. Ano ba? Impact, no impact, somewhat, or moderate impact, very, very high impact, or extreme impact. By the way, there's one basic rule in scale preparation. You remember what basic rule in scale preparation? Can you remember any basic rule in scale preparation? When we're doing scales. You remember any major guideline or rule? What is the natural tendency for rating a scale? What is the natural tendency of those ratings of the rater? Middle tendencies, na? Central tendency. So at one point, if you want to force the issue, you don't use an odd number scale. Use an even number scale. Meaning, pwede nyo sabihin tanggalin yung moderate so that hindi nagmo-moderate. Na? Kasi if you go into none, somewhat, very, and extreme, it will be both two ways. No? Avoid the central tendencies. So, after you've listed the scale, the rating scales or the criteria for selection, then you list the alternative problems. On the left-hand column, have each person in the group independently rate alternative according to criteria. Have each person total his or her score, tally the score, and use result to reach a decision. So we'll go through that very quickly by this time through a more list here alternatives. Say for example, alternative to solution to this is basically the issue is say let's go. So how to communicate well with employees, right? So alternative. So meron ka ng criteria dito, high, low. So it's cost is major for them, acceptability here. And ease of implementation, time involved, total rank. So here, then after that, they talk about alternatives. Mail to employees, insert in paycheck. Kung gusto mo ba, pag binigay mo ng paycheck, nung araw kasi paycheck pa, no? Then you include already a note, right? Post around hospitals, like say, you put, go, get your ATM, that sort of thing. Or special feature in intercom. Let's say, meron pa central intercom system, right? Probably, let's say BMX, ano tag mo doon? PX system, no? Or public address system. So I was in FU, sabi ng speaker, nagsasalita siya, biglang nagsalita yung sound system ng FU. It's 10 o'clock. Gaganon pala yung school. Every hour nag-a-announce. May oras, no? Parang gano'n. So, kisa mas maganda ito yung kisa na ring, ano? Okay. So, ito, special feature. So, sabi, sige, score natin. Ito na yung criteria natin, ha? But remember, again, you start with rating, right? So, say, each person in the group. So, si person 1, si person 1. So, in this particular group, kasi medyo more complicated yung table, you have these raters here, right? 1, 2, and 3, third rater, right? Rating cost, then rating acceptability, rating ease of implementation. Then you're going to 1, 2, 2, go, then you total it. So total nila yung score, 13 yung mail to employees, 27 to insert in paycheck, post around hospital, special feature in intercom. So what do you think would be the best alternative for them in terms of ranking? So they took the highest score, right? Ibig sabihin lang, di ba? You go into number 1, special feature in intercom. If you just really want to how to best communicate important news to employees, right? So talk about cost, acceptability, ease of implementation, time involved, right? Now you have a more objective way of saying, ito napili natin. Hindi dahil yun ang priority ng iyong boss or something like that. So you have a more objective way of looking at it, okay? So tawag natin na decision matrix. You can always design it on your own. Say for example, how do we best, for example, reach students so that they will go for counseling? What will be the best alternative sa mga projects na go sa counseling? How do we best tell our people in the diabetic group that we are not in a correct direction? We don't have a direction. What do you do this? One-on-one? How do we best set up? Do we conduct a strategic planning? Or just kick out everyone who does not belong to us or something like that, right? So talk about the alternatives. Depende sa inyo. let's say our patients are not coming in, low 70% ano yan, follow-up rate. What do we do with that? What will be our strategy? So but before you talk about strategies, what do we do? Cost? Ano pa? Efficiency? Time? Expertise. You can also talk about expertise. What if the needed criteria would be expertise of people who are in the team? Meron ba magtuturo niya? Wala namang marunong. And then you put expertise, then you end up with wala tayong expertise, then that will already reduce the score for a particular strategy that would require expertise, right? So we don't have that. So, one, then you make a decision, for example, because of that. Sabi nga natin, yun na yung ano mo, you make a decision related to this particular system. Some precautions for the decision making. Focus upfront on primary goals. You try to do a lot of process, no? Then you end up with, what's so important with this? Why are we doing this? Why do you want me to come here, attend a very, leave my work and then come here for a decision-making meeting, which is a very simple problem, right? Simple goal, right? Result is as good as a criteria used. So select criteria carefully. That's why the first step is criteria. Eh, sorry, yun ang criteria natin eh. Oo nga, but with that criteria, the best will not be selected. Right? And it's happening in so many of our, even in our, we should be start thinking about election next year. People are not using any good criteria for selection. May planchadora said yesterday, ano naman yung doc doon sa amin eh, pag ano ka, 1,005, a night before, parang gano'n na yun. So ang boto, palakihan na lang yung ginapang gabi. Nasaan yung prinsipyo natin? Oh. So, it depends. So, sabi ko kanina, if you really want to select the person, nauna na nga yung gusto niyo i-select, ang hinahanap niyo na lang ay criteria. May problema tayo. Just for another story. When we were student councils, I was a student council chair of FEU College of Med. But before the election, how do we control the council? Let's select our COMELEC. Tayo na mag-select. And let the COMELEC develop a requirement that will all make us eligible. Right? And it ended up with me winning the council, right? So you try to because we want to retake the council. It's the same thing, right? Like in Congress, right? They want to retake the Congress, change a little bit the ball game, bring back a corrupt former president. So what is the thing? You may not be with me in that political line, but this is the thing. How do you select a new one? Ito pa, suspend criticism until you have generated an array of possibilities. Hindi yung maglalagay ka pa lang ng, propose pa lang yung member, pwede bang alternative natin na, ay wag yan. Hindi na, kaya nga may criteria eh. Ilagay na lang, wag mo na ngayon. Si pinopropose pa lang, sarado na eh. Ha? Mag-workshop tayo, wag yan, magastos yan. Wag yan. Kaya nga, wag muna. Ha? Ano pa? If your results bother you, trust your instincts. Grabe. No? Kung tangas feeling mo, mahal ka niya. Huwag ka na magduda. Ha? Trust your instinct. Yan. Or trust your wife's instinct. Mas magaling daw yun. Lalo. Acknowledge that some solutions are simple and some are not. Of course, there are complicated solutions. Okay? So, another that I showed you last time, just sabi ko, review lang natin. So, you have learned one tool, this decision matrix. The next is tree diagram. Let's go back to it again. As I mentioned last time, it's a basically a breakdown, no? and using the why questions. Let's just go back to the sample we used time here. Yeah, increase available wheelchair. How? Of course here. Pero ito, wala pa na sinasabi mo lang. You still have to select whether you want it. So ito naman ay you can use the tree diagram to classify the step, to classify the approaches. But still you need a decision-making matrix. The role of the tree diagram is for you to identify the possible alternatives. But it will not tell you what will be our alternative. We still have to select. Diba, ito tatlo eh. Keep emergency stock file. Retrain repair worker. Institute experimental return system. Now, you still need to do a matrix for this. Ano to? Based on fund requirement, expertise, sort of thing, right? You need to still run a decision matrix at the end of the day. Okay? So this one is from, let's say, an example for a particular, like say, improving a staff towards outpatient. Improving staff behavior. This is a very nice book. I stole this book from somewhere. No, I have this book. It's a book. It's all about tools for hospital improvement operations. When I was a WHO fellow on continuing improvement for health facilities. So I have a nice book that I brought with me from Amsterdam, and see, look at that. Very nice. It's all about hospitals. How do you improve your hospitals? Like say, improve staff behavior towards. Is it about set clear expectation, provide training, monitor, or provide supervisory coaching? So it's so many, but you can actually use all these approaches, right? So therefore, if you're doing this, you can have one particular goal with several strategies altogether done at the same time, right? While you are setting clear expectation, you are also providing training, you are also monitoring and providing support. At the end of the day, you will realize that you need to do all of this to be able to really make things happen, right? See, alam nga naman, after you provide them then training, you don't monitor them, right? Or after you provide them with training, you leave them alone. Okay ka na bata, kaya mo na yan on your own. Then hilong-hilo na siya dun sa, nahihilo na siya pinuntahan niya. Wala man lang siya matawanan. Did you feel that before? When you, especially to our age group, no. Hindi ako na, ikaw tumingin sa akin, hindi ako tumingin sa'yo. I remember when I was telling, when I was in Samar, there was still no internet. There was internet probably. There was no cell phone, right? No text. As I told you before, I will file a call Monday. I will be connected Wednesday. I go to the telephone booth, yung bang PLD, na PTNT, PTNT. Yung pala, their telephone is like, there's no straight Calbayog to Manila telephone line. So you have to radio, Naga, hello Naga, pakunin ka sa Maynila, Naga. Hello Cebu pa Maynila, nga sabi ko. If I know that this would take too long, I should have ride the boat last night, went to Cebu, make a call and come back. Probably nakabalik na ako, wala pa rin yung call ko sa ano. But you want to do something but you don't have a text line, no? You don't have a helpline. That's why even in classroom now we're using Flip, right? Why Flip? Make the students bring all the materials at home, read them. Don't make them do assignments at home. Why? Because if they are lost, they don't have a helpline. I want to solve this, but my teacher is asleep already. I want to solve this, but all my classmates are somewhere else. So what the teacher is doing now? Read everything. Tomorrow, let's do the assignment in class so that I can be there to help you. There's a helpline available. That's the essence of a flip. It's not just about the flipping, but the principle is, since anyway, they will not be able to finish it at home because of some difficulties, might as well bring the assignment home, in school, so that there will be available resources, or especially feedback. So, this one you're very familiar with, I know, Gantt chart, right? Of course, Gantt is a name of a person who invented the chart, right? Gantt chart. Horizontal bar charts that show the time relationship among steps in an implementation plan. So many people use this. Parang lahat na lang may alam sa Gantt chart. But to make it even more useful, add a second line to show the real schedule as you proceed through implementation. And of course, you can also add the people who will be performing the procedure. Okay? Let's say here step 1. Step 1, kailan siya? Week 1. This one will be week 2. This will be together. And then we finish that here. But as we go to the next presentation, we'll give you a more detailed calculation. How do you calculate the steps here? But this is the Gantt chart, right? You're all familiar with this, right? You've seen all of this. You've seen the Gantt chart. I think most of us use Gantt chart, no? Oh, but Dr. is using a Gantt chart. Being in the military, Gantt. But the chart is circle. Okay, but the one version will be something like this, right? You're correct. You have collect current material responsibility path, time schedule, and sort of thing. You have to remember that just like Maslow's theory of prepotente. You know prepotente? You remember prepotente, Maslow's theory? What is prepotente? You know the most important term in Maslow's most important concept? The concept of prepotente? You don't know the prepotente concept in Maslow? You're done with Maslow's already. You don't remember? That's a very important concept in Maslow. Prepotente. You don't know? Come on. Prepotente. You don't know that? No one recalls? Prepotente is you cannot move to the next level unless the first level is fulfilled. And that's the commentary for Maslow's, right? Because there are people who've been to sacrificing their life even though they are poor, right? Many heroes have died in poverty. Many of our national heroes are not really at the level of achieving already all that they need. Some are revolutionaries who are farmers, right? They are not like Rizal, who is already a rich hacendero, right? Who can easily sacrifice for it kasi anyway, all the members of the family are already well off, right? Remember that prepotent is a very basic concept of Maslow. Because if there's no prepotent, it means you cannot proceed to the next, following that, you cannot proceed to the next step unless the next step is fulfilled, right? That's why I'm just using this opportunity to review Maslow. Compared to other self-actualization original concept by Carl Rogers. Who developed the first concept of self-actualization? It's not Maslow, it's Carl Rogers. Right? Self-actualization. But self-actualization as the end stage of the pyramid is Maslow's. Right? So many people will make a mistake on who coined the self-actualization. It's not Maslow, it's Carl Roger. Carl Roger. Basically. So talk about this one. As I said, the criticism for Maslow is you can actually reach this end without passing through this end. Diba? That's the criticism, because the criticism for Maslow is you have to give physiology, then you go to the next level, then you actualize, right? Okay naman, mukhang true naman siya. How can our Filipino vote when their stomach is physiologically empty, right? That's why they vote for the money and food, not voting for self-actualization. Oh, I'm doing this for self-actualization. Kainin mo yung self-actualization mo. Diba? Kaya kahit anong educate mo sa voter for vote wisely, nakakain ba si wisely? Yun pa rin ang bottom line niya. So that's the thing. So those are the things that you can use. Now, let's talk about how do you time it. How do you now time it? Okay?